Hi. Yeah, so excited that just got into this finally this idea I had of doing my newsletters as a video. And yesterday, I want to share with you something that happened yesterday because it's very alive with me, and I've no idea what I'm gonna tell you. Uh, I just have this feeling of what happened that was very significant for me, and I'll just tell you about it, and then maybe reflect a little bit what I think can bring into our lives. Yeah, the reflections. So I was setting a love it limit with my son. He had, we were in the living room, and he was being a bit aggressive, and I was holding him, and he because of my difficulties with loving limits, my children, I've been a bit permissive. My children actually get quite aggressive, and so I need to actually really physically restrain them because they hurt, they break things, and they hurt people, and so. But of course, that brings also a lot of stuff for them, and if I'm not really centered, it's yeah. So yes, it's a tricky age there, and yesterday, and I'm getting better and better at that, at holding with a lot of love and a lot of compassion. Aaron's learning a very difficult lesson around limits, and yesterday I was having a little bit of difficulty with it. I wasn't totally centered. I was just about managing, and then my daughter came, and she was feeling a little she was feeling upset about it, about his big display of pain and anger, and she started talking to me and asking me, "Mummy, how centered are you? And are you?" And that threw me actually out of center. Uh, then I wasn't able to actually kind of really what I tend to do is really tune in to what's happening with my son. And at some point, he's softened enough that he's actually not going to be violent anymore, and I usually let it go then. But because my daughter was kind of hammering me on the side, I let him go, and he still was very aggressive and turned around and kicked me really hard, and that triggered a huge amount of stuff for me about my childhood abuse from my dad, which always comes out in my relationship with my son. And then, because I knew that this had all happened because I had more difficulty with it because my daughter was on the side going on, then I just turned all my rage and my anger towards her, and that was quite scary. I don't think I've yelled at my children like this for a very long time, but I just dumped it all on her, and I was just actually virtually a second or two. My husband was there. He was watching the whole thing, and he launched himself onto me to protect our daughter, really, to hold me, because he was concerned that I would actually go. I saw there was so much pain in me that, and I was so totally out of awareness that that he was concerned for her well-being. So he just came to me, but he came to me, and I think that's the most amazing thing for me. I could feel in as soon as he touched me, I could feel that there was no judgment. There was no. He just. It was so much love in the way he came to. Even though he came really quickly and really forcefully, he. I could feel his absolute solidity and presence and compassion. It was, and so I. There was part of me that just carried on the inertia of shouting, and couple of seconds later, this was 2 seconds yelling at my daughter, 2 seconds trying to get off from under my husband. And then it sort of almost kind of sunk in, somebody's keeping me safe here. And this is what was so moving for me, is that I actually felt safe. That I felt safe from my own anger and from my own pain. That the anger wasn't going to hurt anybody, because he was making sure that wasn't going to happen. And so I started crying in his arms. And I said to him, thank you, because nobody's ever done this to me. Nobody's ever set a limit with such compassion. And the powerful thing about it, I think, is that he had to use so much force, because I was so enraged. And yet there was such a perfect balance with the love and the compassion and the total understanding of where I was at. It was just, this in itself was an incredible healing experience for me to get that a limit can be set with that balance, with that beautiful balance between the love and the boundary. And I guess I've been trying to work on that for so long. For me, it's just been such a journey on loving limits, that this experience has been for me incredibly significant, very, very moving, very touching, as you can see. And I just wanted to share it with you. I wanted to share, because I've been thinking afterwards about it, and why has it moved me so much. Yeah, and I think that what I've come to the conclusion is that it brings home something that I've been doing for my children. Even I've managed to do that sometimes for my kids, but it's almost like an embodied experience for myself of what a loving limit feels like. And that's so powerful to have that experience. And also, I had an interesting thought, which was about what the strongest emotion for me was, I feel safe. That what touched me most was that I was safe. And it sort of ties in with something that I've been milling over lately. I've been listening to this beautiful book by Anita Moorjani called Dying to Be Me. She's this Indian woman who had a near-death experience. And she talks a lot about her feelings when she was on the other side, and how she felt she was, we were all connected and we're all one, all of these things that we heard. And then she says, like, what it reminds me of is that, of course, when I, in that moment, I was in so much pain that I was dumping it onto my daughter, but really, I don't want to hurt her, of course. And what Anita says, of course, is that if we hurt others, we're hurting ourselves, because we're all one. And sort of, and what this, so I was in my husband's arms and feeling I am safe. I was safe from my own anger, and that is kind of a peculiar way of looking at it. We don't hear that perspective very often. I'm safe from hurting others who are also a part of me. It's the sense of, so somehow it's like, then it sort of brought home to me that I finally understood when people say kids need boundaries to feel safe. I've never quite agreed with that, and I am not quite. I've been a bit confused about it, and yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before, when it happened, it's kind of landed in me. That's it. That's the safety. That I totally get it. that when I am acting out, when I'm in my deepest pain and I am dumping something that I know later will regret, and somebody sets a loving limit, that's where I feel totally safe, because he was totally respecting me, but he was also making sure that I was respecting our daughter. And yeah, that was really, really beautiful, really beautiful. And I think what it trails onto for me is I'm doing a lot of sort of teaching that same lesson for my son, where up until now I haven't been able to set those loving limits, and he has become a little bit of an aggressive. It's not an aggressive boy. When anger comes out for him, it comes out as an aggression, and that experience for me made me think that I guess that is the safety he's yearning for, where we can actually. I've always known intellectually, of course, he doesn't want to hurt things. He doesn't want to hurt people. But somehow that having that experience within myself made me understand how our loving limits can make him feel safe. How, yeah, he can feel held lovingly in them. Yeah, so that was really, it's so beautiful, and it's very simple idea, and I won't elaborate more about it unless I get a little light bulb to light in the next few seconds. But I just wanted to share it with you, and I suspect that not everybody will relate to it, because some people have had an experience of loving. I don't know how many people have an experience of loving. I don't see them greatly in practice out there. Loving limits. Often limits are set with too much harshness and not enough love and tenderness and understanding. And that's one of the things I love about way parenting, that we can balance that really subtly, perfectly. That's really beautiful. But my experience of loving limits, in my experience, because I was sexually abused when little, my personal understanding of limits is so muddled up, so very deeply to the essence and the core of myself, that I'm really, really struggling with them. And I'm struggling from the point of view of not being too too strict, but being too permissive. My parents were too strict for me, and I swung the other side, not liking what I received. But of course, I had to go that journey to find my middle term, and so I'm coming to loving limits from the point of view of having allowed my children to too much and not enough. So I suspect that maybe, I don't know, you'll tell me, if you're coming from the other end, where you're being a little bit more strict with your children than you'd like to be, I don't know if you'll relate to what I'm talking about today. The thing is, for me, it was a really touching, really beautiful experience, and I wanted to share it. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear whether it resonates, whether it makes sense, and and whether it inspires you and what you make of it. So and what do you think of this new format? Really exciting to be trying something new. I'll leave you here, and looking forward to hearing from you.